Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Nightmare Wrestling podcast. It is now March 6th, 2 minutes after midnight. AEW Revolution just went off the air. I certainly, I was not originally planning, which seems to be a lot with the AEW pay-per-views, of whether or not I was going to purchase it or not. But at the last minute, I looked at the match card. I mean, obviously, I knew about the MJF and Bryan Danielson match, but I thought that really wasn't enough to, really pique my interest. But I looked at the whole thing in terms of the match card. I'm like, you know what? This actually does look pretty good. And I am going to say, it's probably been a while since I've said this when it comes to AEW. I really did enjoy the pay-per-view. But again, it's the same complaint. It's just too damn long. And I know you want to give the matches enough time to tell the story and everything like that. I totally get it. But again, you're running these pay-per-views on a Sunday. It is not the summer. Kids are back in school. You want kids and you want your fans, teenagers and older adults to, 20s, late 20s and 30s to sit and watch this stuff. They got to go to work the next day. You don't know what their job is, whatever. And, it might seem like a very minor thing, but to me, you cannot have your pay-per-views starting at 8 o'clock, ending at midnight. Now, technically, I'm going to be technical, this went off at 11:50. But I can't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I don't think last year's WrestleMania, night one or two, went off at midnight. I think the latest they went off was maybe 11:15, if I recall. And that's another smart thing about WWE moving their events to Saturdays, because it doesn't matter how late it stays. So if AEW wants to now move their events to Saturdays, and then you're going to have your thing open until, or your show run till midnight, okay, fine, I'm not going to bitch about it. But, again, you want, I mean, yes, your audience is not what WWE is going for as far as like the little kids, but you're going to have 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, still watching this. You're going to have parents who are going to still let them watch and staying up. And listen, I'm not a little kid, obviously, I'm 36 years old, but I don't want to fucking stay up until midnight to watch it. And the only reason why I didn't shut it off was because I was interested in what was happening. So it's kind of like, well, you can't bitch if you stayed up, but I did stay up to watch it. But, I just feel like, again, their events are just way too long. And there's so many high spots, it's like you kind of, lose the interest, and I feel the wind gets taken out of sails with the fans. You've heard other wrestlers talk about that, depending on where they are in the match card, that, the fans were exhausted from the previous match. But I will say, to me, the fans were actually pretty hot for everything, with the exception of two matches. And there was sort of a lull with the Iron Man match, but clearly that was planned and the way it was mapped out, because these guys weren't going to go crazy for a whole hour. They really didn't pick it up until they were nearly 30 minutes left of the match is when things really started to turn around. But taking the length of the pay-per-view out of it, I thought it was a very good event. I was very entertained. A lot of the results or the ending or the winners of the match was correct in my opinion. And I'm going to start with the last match, the match that just went off, which was MJF and Bryan Danielson. I didn't really doubt that MJF was going to lose, but I will tell you, they had me a couple of times like, really? Are they going to take the title off him this quick? And how are they going to do the storyline with it? But, clearly it didn't happen. I think the way MJF won the match was great. It fits into his character. It's very the whole insulting or salt in the wounds that you beat the person by their submission hold. Max's facial expressions were great. Bryan was great. The match was good. And, those are hard. Iron Man matches are hard. That's why there's not so many Iron Man matches, because you have to have the right two people to keep the interest of the audience for an hour. And then you notice they did a little, throwback to WrestleMania 12 with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart with the, going into the sudden death. Um, I actually thought they were going to end it at sudden death, and I'm sorry, I thought they were going to end it in a tie, and that really wouldn't have bothered me. I mean, obviously you heard the fans chanting bullshit, but that wouldn't have bothered me. And I guess there is a right for fans to be annoyed because, like, well, you had to sit here for an hour. We better see a winner. But it's a way to continue the story if it ended in a tie. But my question is now, do they continue to feud? And if they do, what's the next match going to be? Because you kind of set the bar pretty high. So to me, it's kind of hard just to go to a straight one-on-one, 20-minute match when you just had an hour match. Do you do a cage match? Do you do the dog collar match? What type of match do you do? Or does MJF just move on to another opponent? And that's the next thing. Who's next in line? Who do you put in front of MJF? I have a few names in mind of what they can do, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But you can definitely stretch Bryan Danielson with him for, until your next event, or, maybe another 2 or 3 months to help you get to your next event when you want to give MJF somebody else. Clearly, MJF took this very seriously. I mean, you see the shape that he got himself in. He clearly got himself leaner for this match. I mean, even Daniel, I'm sorry, I keep calling him by his WWE name, but even Bryan Danielson, even he looked, like he leaned out for this match as well. But it's hard for me to find a problem with it. It's not a surprise that they bled, but I'm not going to say that Adam Page and Moxley's match took away from it, but it's no surprise that they bled. Let's put it that way. I'm going to get to Moxley too. It's no surprise that that's what happened. But I thought it was a very good match. I thought the story was great. I wouldn't have been mad if MJF lost, and I'm not mad that he won. But like I said, it was probably the correct call. And I'm sure there were some people who were thinking, because I'm thinking this, how do you get the title off of MJF? As much as MJF went on a tyrant to become champion and, call out Tony Khan, he wasn't getting paid, he wasn't getting his respect and all that. And some could say that that was just part of the storyline. I'm not so sure. I think there was some realism to it. I did think MJF had a case for how he felt. I really do. Did he go about it the right way? Probably not. But I think he had legitimate beef. Now, you could say, well, he hasn't been in business long enough. He doesn't have the right to say what he does. But sometimes when you're that talented, that helps you get away with some stuff. Meaning, as opposed to the person who had to put in 18 years or 20 years, and you're just putting in 10 years, 6 years, 7 years, or you did wrestle in, as they used to say, the bingo halls, and now you're on, which I believe is the second largest. I believe they have obviously surpassed Impact, so I believe they're the second largest wrestling organization out there. um you don't get to go up that quickly, but Max has clearly made a name for himself. He's clearly created a buzz around himself because of how he is. Again, is that Max in real life? I don't know. Is Max like, what we see on TV, is that Max in real life, but just as Austin says, the volume is just turned up? Or is this that Max just 100% of the time that he just really is that much of an asshole? I don't know. I've never met the man. I have no desire to meet him. If I saw him in the street, I probably wouldn't even stop and acknowledge him because I'm not really that starstruck. I mean, I've seen some celebrities in the street before. I've seen Alec Baldwin before. I've seen Justin Timberlake. When I used to work at a hotel, he came in. I can't remember her name, but she was an actress on Criminal Minds. I had some CNN anchors come in at one point. The guy on Million Dollar Listing New York, Ryan Serhant, and his wife has spent the night at the hotel. Um, you know, so I seen Bernie Williams from the Yankees. So, it's just like a hi, how are you type of thing. I've met Paul Heyman. He gave me a sweater, had a small conversation with him. Um, you know, but other than that, I'm not that starstruck, so it doesn't matter to me if he's that much of an asshole or not in real life. However, I will say this. For all the talk, well, let me go to the original point that I was going to do before I went on that tirade. I'm sure people were wondering how you get the title off him because of how he was going about being respected and everything like that. Now, there's no secret about when his contract is up. He's very well versed in letting us know when his contract is up. So I don't see MJF being champion for the next year, probably in the summertime or close to the winter. He's going to lose the title. But does he bitch and complain about losing the title? Does he say I should hold on to the title longer? I'm your biggest star. If you saw little comments from FTR, why the Pinnacle didn't work out. Apparently, as he said, somebody in the group thought it was about them and they were the bigger person. So could this ego run into, and I hope this doesn't lead to another Montreal screw job. I mean, that's been played out so much. I hope we don't go that route. But let's say we get the title off of MJF, we're coming to 2024, and now he's saying, well, you need to put the belt back on me unless I'm going someplace else, yada, yada, yada. There is no way in hell, and MJF has to know this, there is no way in hell that if MJF goes to WWE, he needs to know, and he has to be okay with the fact that the character he is in AEW, that's not going to WWE. Totally different ball game. Just like he shouted, "You motherfucker," we heard it clearly to Bryan Danielson. I'm trying so hard not to call him Daniel Bryan. To Bryan Danielson, do you think he's going to get away with that in WWE? He may say it, but it's going to be bleeped out. He likes to flip the bird. Do you think that's going to happen now? Nope. Now, if MJF came back in the Attitude Era, forget it. He could do whatever the hell he wants to do. But that's not going to fly now. And he has to think about, before he decides to, he could say, okay, I'll play along with Tony. I got to drop the title. Okay, I'll drop the title. But you're going to put it back on me when I'm ready. Or if not, I'm going in 2024, I'm going up north. But again, are you comfortable with a watered down version of yourself? Because that's what's going to happen. And obviously the big thing, or one of the big things that people want to see if he goes to WWE, is to see him in The Miz. Because as you know, the comparison, MJF is The Miz of AEW, or you could say The Miz is the MJF of WWE, because they're both great talkers. But I think if Miz was in AEW with MJF, oh my God. I mean, the promos alone, forget the matches, the promos alone would be outstanding. I think they would have good promos at WWE, but it's not going to be what you expect. Look at Jon Moxley. The stuff that Jon Moxley does, there's no way he would have did that in WWE or been allowed to do that in WWE. If he did, they would fine him up the wazoo. So I don't know how much longer MJF is going to be the champion, but I think you could throw people like Jungle Boy at him. I think you could throw people like Ricky Starks at him. I believe they already wrestled, but I'm going to get to Ricky soon. You could throw Ricky Starks back at him. At some point you could do Wardlow, but which looks like he's going to be distracted with Hobbs right now. You could throw Darby Allin in there. It really, really sounds out there. But if Sting wants to get, one more farewell tour, you could throw Sting out there. I know that sounds a little like what, but you could. I have another person's name in mind, but I could. Was it Action Andrade, the new guy, and you could throw him out there. There's a lot of things you could do with MJF for the rest of the year or leading up to when you want to, take off him. The only thing I will say that bothered me with MJF and this storyline with Bryan Danielson was it was too similar to what he did with Jericho. You know, the whole late was a labor of MJF or whatever, making him jump through hoops to get the match. I mean, are we going to do that every time that he's going to face somebody of stature? I mean, we got to move away from that. I mean, that kind of bothered me a little bit. Like, why are we repeating this so quickly? You know, I mean, at least WWE waits, 15 years before they recycle a storyline. So that part bothered me. But the match itself I thought was great. You know, it's funny. I watched Bryan Danielson wrestle, and you see how hard he tries with the landing to limit the amount of times he lands on his head or lands on the back of his head, to prevent the issues that he has. Just noticing how he's changed his style. But I like the fact how MJF tried to cheat a dozen times and he kept getting caught all those times. I thought it was great. And the crowd definitely got into it at the right time. So kudos to both guys. I don't think they're utilizing MJF to the fullest potential as champion, because I think they really need to strap everything to this guy to really skyrocket them up. And I said that before when MJF first won the title. And I just don't think they've really done that yet. And I think it's a missed opportunity if they don't. As the heel perspective, yes. A babyface perspective, if you think, okay, we can get this high and now we need the next guy to take it, to me, the next guy would be Ricky Starks. And that was the opening match of the night, which was Jericho and Starks. And the right person went over, which was Starks. And they're right with the comparisons of Starks to The Rock. You see glimpses of The Rock and Ricky Starks when The Rock first started as Rocky Maivia. You see it. He can cut promos. He can go in the ring. He has the athleticism. I think he's great. And I think he could really be The Rock of AEW. I really do. And I think that's somebody who you could... because it's hard to put MJF as the face of the company because of how he is. But I still think you can still strap the rocket ship to him and take you guys out of where you are, and then Ricky can just really blow you out of the stratosphere. That's what I think. I enjoyed the match with Jericho and Stars. And listen, that's how you make the stars. These guys have to beat the established stars. MJF had to beat Bryan Danielson. I'm going to get to a point where I'm not going to have to keep pausing to say his name. But for so many years, that's what he was. That's who he was. He was Daniel Bryan. But that's, like I said, that's how these guys get over. And in WWE, it got to the point where really the only guy who could really do it was Triple H, because Triple H was doing that with everybody. He was putting over the Seth Rollins of the world. He was putting over the Roman Reigns of the world. Because there was nobody there. Shawn was gone. Taker really wasn't there. Rock's gone. Austin's gone. Brock is, here and there. Who was the established star for these guys to beat? It was Triple H. And he was about to do it again before he had the heart issue. And now this is what Jericho's doing in AEW. He's the guy that's established and the guy you got to beat. And if CM Punk was still there, it would be CM Punk who should be on his back taking the 1, 2, 3 for these guys. But that's how you do it. You beat those guys. So it's great that Ricky Starks won. And I think that's your big baby face. And then I'm going to go into the next match after that, which was Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Christian Cage. And I think behind Ricky Starks, I think your next big baby face is Jungle Boy. I really do. And the crowd was hot for his match. They were, and that was the problem to me with AEW. They didn't have matches or storylines that got you emotionally invested. But this match or this storyline really did get you invested. It really did. And you can clearly see that from the fans. I mean, the final burial match, I mean, clearly it was a casket match. But I'm glad they didn't have Luchasaurus get involved because this is supposed to be Jungle Boy going singles by himself, winning his first championship. So who's to say on Dynamite, Jungle Boy doesn't challenge? But I think those are your two top baby faces for your company, is Ricky Starks and Jungle Boy. I thought at one point it was going to be Sammy Guevara once they turned him, but he's not mature enough. He's not mature enough. The maturity is in Starks, and the maturity is in Jungle Boy. Another match that I thought the crowd would probably be dead for was the House of Black versus the Elite for the trios. Now, you know how I feel about the trios tag team championship belts. I think it's ridiculous. However, I'm glad House of Black won. And, I don't think the Elite had to win the titles when they first brought these things out. But again, this is how you get the guys over. You beat the established guys. And I'm starting to understand what like some of these older guys are saying, where you're saying like some of these moves are just played out. I mean, everybody does a super kick now. Everybody does one. Kevin Owens, Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins, the Usos, and everybody and their mother in AEW does with that. It just doesn't mean anything anymore. It's just as if you're just doing a clothesline now. I know it's called the Super Kick Party and all that stuff, but I mean, maybe I'm just getting older now, and I have to dissect and just read into things more. I don't know, but this doesn't mean much anymore. But it was a good match though, and I'm glad that House of Black went over. Now, this match, I thought the crowd wasn't necessarily dead for, but it was a little sloppy. I thought the ending was a little bit flat, which was the triple threat for the AEW Women's World Championship, Jamie Hayter, Soraya, and Ruby Soho. I kind of thought they were going to have Ruby Soho go over and win the title. Maybe they're not ready for that yet. I mean, as you saw from the end, we're going to maybe have some form of the Riot Squad. I don't know. But I think Jamie Hayter's run has been a little lackluster. And I think they're probably trying to find a way to spice it up a little bit. But also, as I said before, your women's division is a little weak. Now, I think with people like Britt Baker, and now you have Soraya there, Tony Storm's not bad. You got Ruby Soho. I'm thinking these guys can be the ones to help take some of that pressure off of Britt Baker and really turn this women's division around. Because it is not a great division. To me, it's not. And I think right now you're starting to put some pieces together that can help you turn this shit around. So, I didn't use it as the bathroom break, but, it was a 10-minute match. It was okay for what it was. Like I said, the ending was a little bit flat. There was some sloppy moments to it, but, the twist of Ruby turning heel, it's interesting to see what they're going to do. With Soraya there, I think we could possibly see a turnaround. And I'm hoping, because Britt needs help. She can't do it by herself. The Texas Death Match, I thought it was a good match. It's what you expected, but similar to with the Super Kicks, Moxley bleeds in every single match. So seeing him bleed here, just it takes it away. It's like, well, dude, you bled last Wednesday, and then you bled the Wednesday before that, and then the Wednesday before that, and then the Wednesday before that. So it's like, what does it matter? Why do you need to bleed in every single match? It just takes it away. And I'm like, when I'm watching, I'm like, well, you know they're gonna bleed in the Iron Man match, but I don't know. I just and I think the Texas Death Match is just being done too much. The dog collar match, I think is still done too much. They play out these matches way too much. It's like the complaint with the Hell in a Cell that fans were upset that they made it such a regular thing. Same thing with the Elimination Chamber. That was supposed to be those special matches, not something that we saw just for the hell of it every October, and every single match was inside a Hell in a Cell, or almost every match was in a Hell in a Cell. So I think AEW has to work on some of this and just stop giving us so many of these same matches over and over, and fucking talk to Moxley like, Mox, you don't have to keep bleeding. I mean, it's almost like an obsession that you have to bleed it every time, and you don't have to. And again, I think the right person went over at Hangman Page. He beat Mox at his own game. I thought the way he beat Mox, I thought was creative, to tell you the truth. And it made sense why Moxley would tap out. You know, and yeah, you could have got a different route of, well, he's crazy, doesn't care, just choke him out. But I thought that was good. You show a little vulnerability in the character. So I thought that was okay. But it's just, for me, it was just an eye roll when he just started, because you knew he was going to bleed. It was just an eye roll for me. I'm like, you're gonna bleed the following Wednesday anyway. So it's like, whatever. This was probably the only match that was really a snoozer, which was the Wardlow and Samoa Joe match. I think it was pretty clear that Wardlow was going to get the title back. They tried to go similar with Jungle Boy. They tried to get you emotionally involved in it. With Samoa Joe cutting his hair and everything with Wardlow's father. It just didn't hit. And even the same thing. You ended the match with Wardlow using Samoa Joe's, uh, chokehold to win the match, but now you just did it in the end match. And it is hard not to, you know, if you listen to the podcast from Conrad Thompson with all these guys, and they say the same thing. Well, we put somebody through the table in this match, and then we put someone else on the table and do the fourth match, and well, by the time you get to the main event, it's like it's worthless. You don't want to keep doing it over and over again, and the bleeding from Moxley, and then the way Wardlow won, it's like you took those two things and put them in the Iron Man match, where those two probably should have been just reserved for the Iron Man match. I mean, you can't have this type of Texas match without bleeding, obviously, but I just think you're stepping on each other. And the tag match was what it was. You want to get the Guns over. They had to win. I don't think a lot of people are taking them seriously or took them seriously. So, they had to win it in that regard. But overall, I thought it was a good event. I was actually happy that I did buy it, that I spent the $50, knowing that I was going to be up late watching it, and then obviously do my review afterwards. But I'm going to pay attention to what time WrestleMania go off the air, night one and night two. Maybe that's the event that might go a little long, but it doesn't go until midnight. But I just think, again, for a Sunday, you can't have this for a Sunday. It's like when the Yankees play the Mariners or play LA. The game starts here. If they're over there, the game here starts at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, that most of your fans are not going to stay up and watch the game. I don't stay up and watch the game. I may watch the first couple of minutes, but by 11:30, I'm going to bed. I can't stay up and watch it. If the Yankees start a game at 7, and it goes into extra innings. And like that one year, I don't remember what year it was it 2017 or 18 or something like that? I think A-Rod was still on the team, so it might have been a little earlier than that. Right? Well, A-Rod wasn't on the team in 2017. Uh, all that stuff happened in 2013, 14. What, A-Rod left in 2015 or 2016? But anyway, um, there was a game against the Red Sox that I think went to like 20 or 21 innings, and that game went on well past midnight. I didn't fucking stand for that, you know, because people got to go to work, kids got to go to school. So I just think that has to be fixed. Like I said, summertime it doesn't matter, or start putting in pay-per-views on Saturday, and you can do that. I mean, hell, WCW back in the day with WWF or WWE, they had their pay per views on the same, Sundays. Somebody had it this Sunday, they would have that Sunday. But that's just my gripe. That you gotta do you gotta do something with these times. That's all. But good event, very good event, and I'm curious on how they're gonna build off of this. I'm curious how they're gonna build off of this for Ricky Starks, how they're going to build up this for Jungle Boy, how they're going to build up this with MJF, and how they're going to build on this. I'll even throw Wardlow in there because Wardlow's sort of doing a restart. So, so that's it for this. Sorry I sound a little out of it because my eyes are heavy, and I actually want to go to sleep. But I just wanted to get this out there, get this up. So I apologize. I don't sound as upbeat as I should. Uh, I will be back soon because I do want to talk about WrestleMania. Before you know it, Night One's going to be here. And I want to know if you guys agree. Does this road to WrestleMania? I was so pumped up in January, but it's starting to feel a little lackluster. And I'll get into that later this week. But let me know what you guys thought about AEW Revolution. Let me know if you agree with what I think about Starks and Jungle Boy and MJF. Have a good night, and I will talk to you guys later.